On today's show, Melinda and co-host Anne-Miranda wrap up their Coast to Coast Across Canada series in the Yukon, Northwest Territories and Nunavut. It's been an amazing journey through every province and territory, listening to women share their brave stories. That's coming up next on See Hear Love.
Well, welcome to See Hear Love as we conclude our Across Canada Coast to Coast conversations here in the Yukon, Nunavut, and Northwest Territories. And Anne-Miranda, welcome back.
Hi, Mel. So exciting that we're in the territories today.
Woo! And can you believe that we started in British Columbia, went all the way to Labrador, and here we are today in Northern Canada with three amazing women guests. And I am thrilled that Jodi, Amie, and Livia are here with us. And I want to get right to you, Jodi. Who are you? Where are you living? Tell us a bit about you.
Sure, thanks for having me. My name is Jodi Ristau, and my husband and I and our three kiddos and our chickens are living in Whitehorse, Yukon, up in the territory. And I grew up actually nowhere near here. I grew up in Venezuela in South America as a missionary kid. And my husband and I had a passion for missions worldwide, served in Papua New Guinea for 2 years, and then God brought us here to work in Northern Canada in the Yukon. And so we are really blessed to be here working with Indigenous people groups and with a ministry called Ethnos Canada.
Well, welcome, Jodi. I love the Yukon, and I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Thank you so much. Amie. Hi, Amie.
Hi, I'm so thankful to be on. My name is Amie Charlie. I was born and raised in the Nunavut Northwest Territories, above the Arctic Circle.
Wow.
I'm a member of the Kaska and Gwich'in First Nations. I received my bachelor's degree in international development last year from Trinity Western University. And then I moved home and I started my nonprofit. So I'm the founder of Arctic Youth Development Agency, and I am currently living in Nunavut Northwest Territories and splitting my time between there and Watson Lake, Yukon.
Woo! Oh, we have stories about Watson Lake, Amie. We'll talk about that after the show, but thank you for being with us, and I can't wait to hear more about the work that you're doing. So welcome to See Hear Love. And Livia. Hello, Livia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Livia Huang. I was born and raised in China, and I came to Canada for my post-secondary degree. And upon graduation, I started working in Canada in different provinces, and now I'm currently working in Iqaluit, Nunavut.
Wow. Okay, and we are in the presence of some incredible women on the show today. This is fantastic. Okay, I want to get to some fun questions. So, Jodi, for you, what do you love about the Yukon that maybe most Canadians or the world have no idea about?
Sure, yeah. Well, we have one time been rated the best quality air in all of the world. I don't know if we still hold that.
Woo, okay.
But what I do love about our city is it's known as the Wilderness City. And basically within minutes, you're out your back door and into the wilderness to bike, to hike, to canoe, to be in God's creation and just to be rejuvenated. You can often go on a backpacking trip or a canoe trip and not see anyone for days. And so it's just a big, beautiful land that you can get lost in and enjoy God's creation. And there's just endless places to explore. And so we really enjoy all of that up here.
Wow, sounds amazing. Awesome. Amie, what about you? What do you love about where you live?
I love that in the summer we have 24/7 sunlight. The sun does not go down for 2 months. It's as bright as it is 2 a.m. in the morning as it is at 2 p.m. But in the winter we have polar night where the sun goes away for about 30 days. So we're actually in that right now. And we built the highway to Tuktoyaktuk, Northwest Territories. So now Canada is connected coast to coast to coast. And that was completed about 3 years ago. So yeah, pretty cool.
Amie, thank you for saying that, because I was actually corrected by another producer that I said coast to coast across Canada, but really I was supposed to say coast to coast to coast across Canada conversation. So now we have to change that. And our whole virtual across Canada tour has now got to be rebranded to coast to coast to coast. So Amie, thank you for saying that to me so I can correct that. But that's tremendous, amazing. Livia, what about you? What do you love about where you live?
I love the sense of community, and the people really, well, I think across all the territories, people are really friendly, and people really like to get to know you and spend time with you. And for Iqaluit, I was always amazed about the amounts of art and artists that we have in the communities. Some fun facts about Iqaluit or Nunavut is that we don't have trees, but it's not barren.
Oh.
We do have vegetation, but we just don't have trees.
Wow, I had no idea about these things. That's amazing. I think every Canadian needs to go up to Northern Canada and experience just the things that you're experiencing, because Canada is such a beautiful country. And so, Jodi, Amie, and Livia, we've asked every province these same two questions that I want to ask you now. And the first one I know, and you have, because this has been really something that's really close to you, this question, you've asked many women across Canada.
Yeah, and because it's a tough season, you know, Mel, like we're all in it together. We've heard that this is a global pandemic, so we're all kind of figuring out how to live in this new normal. But I really want to know how people remain hopeful in the midst of COVID. So Livia, why don't we start with you? Tell us about you. How do you remain personally hopeful in the midst of COVID?
I learned to count my blessings and to be grateful of what I have. And I started to express those feelings with my friends and family. So just be grateful of what I have. I know we're going through a challenging time. And it may seem that we don't see the lights at the end of the tunnel, but I'm grateful for what I have, and I think that gave me hope.
Jodi, what's your experience been?
Sure, yeah. I think, well, the thing that gives me primarily hope is hope in God, and just remembering that He's in control. He's not fretting or worried. He's not caught up in restrictions or a pandemic, but He is far and above all that, and He knows everything that's going on. So that's primarily the hope. And kind of like Livia said, just remembering to be thankful what we do have and what we can do instead of getting stuck on all the things we can't. I know we got to the summer, this past summer, and we were thinking, oh, all the things we can't do because of COVID. And we decided to call it our Yes Yukon summer, like, yes, you can, of all the things we could do and still be thankful for. So we focused on that, and we had a great summer. But yeah, I mean, ultimately our family's just focusing on God, and He always has made a way. He made a way for the Israelites in the Bible, and He just continues to make a way for us above people. He's above people, and so we just look to Him.
Good.
Amie, what's your experience been?
Just like everyone else, kind of just navigating the uncertainty, but then also realizing that life was never certain to begin with. So really, taking the time to, explore your backyard, like Jodi mentioned, just like, you're in your community. And also I have a spiritual mentor. And we just started that relationship a few months ago. So it's just been so timely to have that support during these times.
Wow, I love that. I think that's so important that we are reminded and remind ourselves to be hopeful, that God is our hope and our trust. And I think that's a really great reminder for all of us. Fantastic. Well, the other question that Anne and I asked as we went across Canada was, how are we loving our neighbor? And as you know, in the past year, there has been quite a bit of divisiveness and strife and protest and angst in so many ways about love and our neighbor and who is our neighbor and who is our enemy. But I want to ask you, all three of you, about what you are doing to love your neighbor, practical things in which you are serving, caring for your neighbors, or your community or church. What are they doing? I'd love to hear those stories. Amie, let's start with you. How are you loving your neighbor very practically today?
There's something special about Northern community. I really just seeing the community come together and have like a Facebook group where, if people need help in isolation, they can message it and someone will kind of go shopping for them. And that was really beautiful to see. And also the work that I do with my nonprofit, like we gave out self-care kits, and it's turned into like a little program. We're going to do another launch in the next couple of months here. But yeah, just those practical things that have just made such a big difference. And doing our weekly Zoom chats as well, our series with a couple organizations, and talking about mental health and self-care during these times.
I love that. The Facebook, like social media, has been so good for us in connecting, and Zoom. So I love that, Amie. That's great. Livia, what about for you? How are you loving your neighbor very practically today?
Similarly, I volunteer. I also serve. I'm a board member of the city food center. So we're serving before, like, non-COVID time. We serve lunch every day, 7 days a week, to sometimes up to 100 people per day. So we're providing hot meals. So it's a place where people can go and get food. So during COVID, we continue to do that, but because of COVID, the food center decided to provide takeout. So we give away takeout lunch bags. So that's a way to help and continue to support the people who are in need in the city.
It's a great story. And Jodi, for you, how are you loving your neighbor within your community and your family, within your church?
Sure. I think for us, it's just been about meeting people where they're at. We had a big snowstorm about a month ago, and neighbors were just out helping each other dig cars out and pull each other out and shovel other people's driveways, and just be like, it just felt so nice to be normal in a way. Mm-hmm. And I think, yeah, just it's really about meeting people where they're at, and also checking on people that have maybe less contact. Like we really try to check in on our single friends who maybe don't have as many people around, like having them for a meal, or just connecting with them over coffee, or if they want a phone chat rather, or whatever. And then also think too about the people having babies that their family members aren't able to come visit. So how are they doing, and do they need support? And so those are just some of the people that we've tried to hone in with. And yeah, I think a lot of under the radar acts of kindness are happening throughout our city, which is always refreshing and neat to see in community.
That's beautiful. I love those stories of very practical ways you're meeting the needs of your neighbor. And I think we can be very encouraged and motivated and inspired by you, Jodi, Amie, and Livia, and what you're doing. Speaking about inspiration, Anne-Miranda has done a devotional, basically a good word in every single show in every province. And so, Anne, I'm really excited to hear what you're going to bring to us to encourage us from the good word.
Thanks, Melinda. Well, as a kind of tradition that we have created here on the Coast to Coast to Coast series is I did a little bit of research on the kind of historic story behind every province and territory. And as I was researching about the territories, as I fast forwarded into what is the North kind of known for and identified as within our Canadian landscape, the unfortunate part was that issues were surfacing, or an unknown of really who is this like North. And I thought this is really interesting because this unknown reminded me of the nameless woman who is known in the Bible as the woman of the issue of blood. And despite all of her positive qualities, despite anything positive that could be said about her, she was defined by problems, by her problem and by her pain. And her response was really, we've heard this preached so many different times. If I just touch the cloak of Jesus, if I would just touch the garment, the edge of his garment, or what historically would have been a tassel at the end of his garment, if I touched that, I would access his authority as healer. I would receive his promise, and her hope was received, but she needed boldness to receive that hope. And Jesus could have just left it at that. He could have just left her miracle at that, but he asked and stopped the crowds and said, "Who touched me?" Because power left him and entered her, and it impacted the crowd. So he saw her, he loved her, and now he wanted to hear her confess in the middle of that moment what happened. And so I am just so inspired by the stories of these women who have literally encountered the power of the living Christ, and sharing and confessing to their communities that he lives and he's active today. And the work that Jodi and Amie and Livia and others like them and within their community are doing in the North is actually redefining a story so that the North would not be defined by issues. We're actually listening, hearing, and leaning into the story of healing and power unleashed from heaven to a never-ending supply of spiritual blessings, like it says in Ephesians. And so I'm super encouraged by the actually, this show is one of my favorite shows. You know, we're not supposed to be having favorites, Mel. I do, because I feel like it's groundbreaking. I feel like there's an attention that needs to be both in prayer and in just a knowledge to what is happening in the North. And so as we are, this is our final one, but my goodness, this God is up to something literally in our nation from coast to coast to coast.
Amazing. Anne, thank you so much. I'm always inspired by your thoughts and devotional. So thank you so much for your scripture from the Good Word. Jodi, Amie, Livia, I think the best way to end our time is to really share your encouragement to a young woman that is feeling hopeless or discouraged today, maybe overwhelmed by life circumstances, or has been confronted with a great loss. Amie, let's start with you. What would you say to that young woman today to encourage her?
That's a really good question. I would probably share with her just from my own personal story of how, how it says in Isaiah that he will give you treasures of darkness, and that, when you think about that, you don't think, how can, darkness be a treasure? But it really can, because, there's purpose behind everything. And even though, just these times with like the pandemic and whatever else might be going on in her life right now, just to know that God is in control and that he sees everything and that nothing is a surprise to him. And that we could really lean into his sovereignty. It's so hard. It's so hard to rest in his sovereignty, but there is purpose behind everything, and that to not lose sight of him, even amidst your pain, and that there are only certain things that you can learn in the hard times that you can't learn when it's going good. And that's the hard times make your faith. So really just to continue to press on, and even if you're just hanging by a thread, and there's something on the other side of that pain, and that's suffering.
Amie, that's good. And for, I think, a lot of us, we have learned some of our most profound and redeeming lessons through darkness and pain. Like, don't be afraid of it. Don't shun it. It's like, step into it, because that's where you get closer to God. You get to know yourself, and it makes you stronger and more resilient to be able to deal with all the other things that are going to come our way that may be more difficult as we live out this life. Thank you, Amie. So appreciate you, your great work with young people, and just keep it up. We're cheering you on and so proud of you. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Livia, for you, encouragement to a young woman today that needs to hear hope.
For me, it will be God is faithful, and he provides, and I will encourage everyone to continue to follow, and I believe God will leave us out of this difficult time. That's what I have.
I love that, Livia, that God will provide. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it, or feel like it, or we don't have what we want in our hand physically. But I love that God's provision isn't necessarily stuff, but it's the assurance of his presence, his spirit with us, leading and guiding us, the songs that come out from wherever and bring us just a sense of comfort. So I love that. You're right. God will provide. And I think it's just a matter for people to say, I'm going to call on you, God. I'm going to talk to you and ask you for help, and he will. So Livia, thank you so much for being with us as well, and for the great work that you are doing and care for Indigenous communities and people. So I'm glad that you were with us on See Hear Love. Jodi, for you, encouragement to a young woman today.
For sure. Well, I think during this time, I've just been thinking more on 2 Corinthians 4, and it talks about we don't lose heart, right? It says we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that the surpassing power belongs to God and not to us. We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair. And then it says it again later, we don't lose heart, though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. For this light and momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. And it just talks about the things that are transient and temporal versus what is eternal. So I think like when we feel so weighed down with some of the stuff, just to remember that a lot of what we're experiencing is temporal, and we need to just continue to look to the God of the eternal, who has, like we said, he's not tied to the restrictions of the pandemic. He is not on lockdown. He is still all powerful and sovereign, and we have this treasure within us for those who believe of Christ in us, the hope of glory. And so I think that is just what I would encourage women with. And also just to remember, even when you feel like there's not a lot you can do, sometimes you don't know how to reach your neighbor, that we still have the power of prayer to come to Jesus' feet and just to say, God, we don't know what to do, but you can do it.
Jodi, fantastic. I love that hope and prayer. I love that part about prayer, this communication, talking with and listening to God, because he will speak. He will show you the way, and don't lose heart. I think for all of us, what you're sharing is remaining hopeful, even if we're not feeling it, to remain hopeful and trust in God that he will lead and guide. Livia, Amie, Jodi, thank you so, so much for your time with us. You are inspirations. It is hard work. I know where you are at and what you are doing. And so we are going to commit to praying for you. We thank you for your obedience, the call of God's life on you in these places, and an inspiration. And what a way to end our coast to coast to coast conversations with these incredible women in Northern Canada. So thank you so much, all of you, for being with us, and stay with us, because coming up, Anne and I share our learnings from our coast to coast conversation and what God has shown us as we have talked with women all across our great nation of Canada. But first, here is how you can join our See Hear Love community, because we would love to be a part of your story.
See Hear Love is where you are. Find our hopeful and inspiring faith stories on your favorite platform, and encouraging content daily on Instagram and Facebook. To learn more and stay updated, sign up for our newsletter on seehearlove.com.
From the host of See Hear Love, Melinda Estabrooks, and 50 of her guests and friends, comes the book Always Know. Full of stories of lives that are inspiring, wise, and life-changing.
God hears you. He hears your prayers. He hears the longing for connection. He hears the cries of pain that you're experiencing, and he loves you deeply.
This month, with your ministry gift of $25 or more, or when you become a new monthly donor, request your copy of Always Know.
It is a collection of stories to help you today in the things that you're struggling with, the things that you are confronted with. And I know that these stories will encourage you.
Call 1-800-265-3100 or visit crossroads.ca/alwaysknow or seehearlove.com/alwaysknow and request your copy.
Wow, and what an amazing group of women that you were able to bring together from Northern Canada. Well done.
Yeah, that was mind-blowing. That was just mind-blowing.
I know.
I can't believe it. It's wonderful. It's blessed me so much.
Yeah, but can you believe that we are at the end of our coast to coast to coast conversations across Canada? I mean, here was this idea. I'm like, Anne, come and co-host with me. Let's go through every province as we're going through the pandemic, and let's talk with women about hope and love. And here we are at the end of it. It's like exciting but sad at the same time, isn't it?
It's like, okay, now what? Now there's an
I know,
what's next?
Now let's take on Europe or Asia. What's our next continent? Well, and I want to take a look back from the very beginning when we started in BC, of all the conversations we've had from BC right up to today. And then let's come back and share some of our favorite moments. So let's take a look.
That's great.
I had been really just learning about Sabbath. And so this was very much a forced stop, slow down.
You know, the first couple of weeks, I remember just the whole world was kind of spinning. And this one thing that just words that kept speaking to me were to choose faith over fear.
You know, and I always look back again to my First Nation. You know, we're a very matriarchal culture. They say a nation is not defeated until the hearts of the women are on the ground.
Christ came to be an example, and he was someone who was about justice.
Your cultural identity matters. I don't think God made us all different for us to pretend that we were the same.
But this is such a time to take stock of what we've been doing. Is it essential or not? Is it what God wants us to be doing? And I think this is such a moment to ask God, what are you doing in this season for the church?
We took a massive leap of faith, selling everything and leaving everything and coming here to start this ministry, and just, we want to be kingdom-minded people.
I like my heart, my heart's like about to explode when I see that. Like, it's really emotional, actually, of all the incredible women that we heard their stories from. And what did you learn? I mean, we've done all the provinces and the territories. What have you learned through this experience?
I learned that God's word never fails, that this country was built on the foundation of his word. I didn't know that as we started. Didn't know how deep rooted our faith was embedded to our history here. That was one massive thing I learned about the past. I learned that in the present, God is on the move through his daughters from coast to coast to coast. And we are resilient. We carry hope, we carry peace, we carry joy, and we are sharing it with this country.
Oh, I love that. I think what I learned, I love that so much. I think I just learned that we are more the same than different. Like, it was every time we go to a province, we'd ask sort of the same question. It was always the same responses or the same struggles we were facing with our families, with our own selves, with you know, our communities, with, you know, family of origin. Like, every time, and we went to a province and asked the question, it always came back with sort of the same answers, just maybe different as far as where you lived. But I think that's what I learned. I think I learned even more that we need one another. Canada is a big nation geographically, but we need to kind of think small and stay connected with our sisters in Quebec and in the Yukon and in Manitoba and in Labrador and in PEI. Like, we need to be more intentional about connecting with our sisters. And so I just want to say this too, Anne. Thank you so much for your incredible work in guesting and connecting these women to See Hear Love and getting them all in the right time, in the right place to chat with us. You did a tremendous job. And I just want to say a huge thank you for the great work in doing this. You have a gift to connect women. And so I'm cheering you on too. So thank you so much for being a part of this amazing adventure that we did.
Thanks, Mel. I love the show and I love the heart behind it, and definitely love this country.
I know. So with that being said, Anne, I think it's just, you know, we love Canada. You know, it's a beautiful nation where we live and work and dream. And oh, Canada, may God continue to guide us and help us and care for the most marginalized and move us forward. And we do this together. May we all know, as we live together, as we listen and we learn together, that you are seen, you are heard, and you are deeply loved by God. Bye.